What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I wanted to do a video today. If you've watched any of the previous videos, you guys know that I was waiting on a TIG welder. I ordered it back on Black Friday. Today it finally came. So I was going to do an unboxing video of that, kind of go over some of the features, but there are plenty of other videos on this particular model already. So I'm going to save the few people that watch this the boredom of watching another one. I will show you guys the welder real quick, but I wanted to also show a couple of the other tools that I've used for work that I've done on the car so far. Maybe it'll help some of you guys out. Maybe you guys have them. Maybe you guys know of a better tool or a better method. If you do, please let me know. I am by no means an expert. This is more of a hobby and you know, learn as you go type of thing. So let me flip this around and I'll show you guys the welder. Alrighty, that's it. I went with the Everlast 200 DV TIG welder. High frequency start, AC, DC, and this will also do stick welding. Like I said, I had ordered it back on Black Friday. When I initially did, I got an email about 20 minutes later that they were out of stock. It was on a back order. I also ordered the cart, which still hasn't come. That's why it's on the shelf here. But I did order a cart for it, and the cover to stop it from being covered in debris from grinding and cutting like everything else in the garage. Because it was on back order for so long, they actually did upgrade me to the Nova torch and pedal kit. So that was kind of cool, but really excited about this thing. I'm gonna get a bottle hopefully Monday, and then we could start playing around with this thing and getting the rest of the bars in the trunk welded in this car. So yeah, that's it. I figure I'll start with what's on the work table right now, even though it's packed with stuff and crowded. Most people probably have one of these, but drill press definitely comes in handy. It's nice to have. This one is probably 20 years older than I am, but still works. And then I also ordered this Wilton vise for it. So definitely two good things to have. Next is my porter band. Obviously this is a Milwaukee. It's the M18, so it's the cordless. And then I also purchased the Swag off-road table for it. Really nice. I've used it a bunch. The only regret I have, I actually wish that I had gone with the corded version. I'll spin this around so you can see. So the table comes with a little Velcro strap to actually hold the trigger. The plug-in ones have an optional foot pedal. So that's definitely one thing I had gone with. But again, this thing works great. I've used it a ton. All right, I'm gonna do my best to keep this organized. So I'll try and do all of the tools used for cutting first. Pretty basic, but angle grinder. This is my go-to. This thing's been great. I've abused this thing since the day I got it and hasn't skipped a beat. So obviously plenty of different attachments for this, whether it be a cutoff disc, grinding disc, flap disc, you name it. I mean, you could use this for anything. So definitely a must-have. This is a multi-tool. So this has just an oscillating blade on the front. This is pretty good for anything where the angle grinder can't reach, or for you know, if you really want to make like a cut flush to the bottom of something. Definitely good to have. And this is also good for like drywall and some home improvement stuff too. So if you know, the budget for automotive tools and parts is dried up, but you got a little bit left for home improvement stuff, this is kind of a 2-for-1. So definitely another good thing to have. and right angle die grinder. Another one, awesome. The roll lock attachments for the sanding discs are pretty cheap. I usually get them on either Amazon or eBay, and it's a quick little quarter turn. You can get these in a variety of different grits and widths. I think this is a 2-inch. I believe I have the 2 and the 3-inch. So another awesome tool. Again, the cutoff disc for that as well. It's a 1/4-inch mandrel, so anything with a 1/4-inch will work on that. And carbide bits as well work really well in that tool. I have the smaller ones for my Dremel. Wasn't really that impressed with them, but the die grinder with the carbide bit is good to go. Definitely recommend that. And then also have the shears. If anybody watched the rear firewall video or the first part of the rear firewall video on the Camaro, I use this. These are good for, I think, I don't know what the gauge is, but it was 40 thousandths aluminum, and I mean, this thing went through it like a pair of scissors. So these are also pretty good to have. I honestly could have done it with the right angle die grinder or the larger die grinder, but it was kind of just an excuse to buy another tool that I'll probably use once and then I'll sit in the drawer forever. But cool, definitely it's cool, and hopefully I'll find another use for it. And I think the last tool for cutting is my tube notcher. This is made by JD Squared. This will notch up to 2.5-inch diameter pipe, and don't remember what the angle it will do up to. I want to say it's like 60 degrees. I could be wrong on that. It might be more. But this thing is awesome. This block with the mandrel here, let's see it through the other side. That just accepts a standard hole saw, and then you can basically cope these tubes to whatever size. I think this is a 5/8 chromoly tube I have in here now, and obviously you can notch that for 5/8 or all the way up to, 2.5 if you're gonna weld the smaller pipe to a larger one. Definitely a good tool to have when I do get started on the roll cage. This thing's going to be getting a workout, but I have already used it for the bars in the trunk, the battery mount, and then the bar that goes across from the anti-roll bar to the parachute bar. And then I also use that to notch the parachute mount. So tube notcher is definitely a must-have if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff. I've seen there are obviously lots of different brands. Some I've seen some guys use a carbide bit on a lathe and notch tubes that way. That definitely works. Unfortunately, I don't have a lathe, at least not yet. Eventually I would like to get one, but for the time being, this thing is awesome. And like I said, if you're going to be doing roll cages or any type of work with tubes, definitely a must-have. Okay, so next up, some of the stuff I use for measuring, other than a basic tape measure, which I'm sure everybody has. Want to get yourself a good caliper. I prefer the analog ones over the digital. It's just personal preference. All my stuff is usually dead as far as batteries go. So this thing, as long as I don't drop it and crack that, this thing's pretty much always on, ready to go. After that, this is a digital level. Does have a magnetic base. If you heard me struggle, just try and pick it up off the table before I showed it to you. Just a quick example. See, I robbed the batteries out of this to put in something else because those batteries were dead. So this still needs batteries, but Once it's on, you have the ability to either zero it out, or when you're setting bars up in the car, just place this on it. It also does have a buzzer on it, so when you do get it perfectly level, if you're working by yourself, when it goes off, you know that it's where it's supposed to be. I use this for setting up the cross member for the anti-roll bar and the parachute bar in the car, obviously with the car level, and then setting the bars in the car so they are also level. You definitely want all that stuff straight, and I'm sure I'm going to use this a lot when doing the cage. So this thing was cheap. I think it was like 30 or 40 bucks, but it is, in my opinion, a good tool to have, and I would definitely recommend it. Next is another angle finder. This one's actually missing a piece. So they make a tube angle clamp. When you are bending bars, once you have a known mark on the tube itself, this would get clamped to the bar, and then once you rotate the bar within the bender itself, that will give you the angle, where the bar is going to go, or at what angle it needs to actually be bent at. So once the clamp actually comes in, I still need a bender, so that's going to be the next big purchase, but definitely another good piece to have. Kind of similar to the other two, but not really, if that makes any sense. If you have pre-existing bars in the car, you can actually use this. Try to get this on camera. Inside of the radius, and it will tell you what the angle is. So if you're trying to duplicate a bar that's already in there, or if for whatever reason you're cutting it out and remaking it, this is definitely good. Or if you're on the bender itself and maybe you don't trust the gauge on there, it's just another way to double check. So definitely, this is another one. This is fairly inexpensive. I want to say it was like 20 bucks or so. I will try and get the links for these and put them in the description if anybody's interested in them, if anybody actually watches this. But this is definitely another good one to have. Shut it off so I don't kill my batteries. So these guys are actually made by, he does have a YouTube channel. I want to say it's Kyle Kuhnhausen. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. The guy is an artist. He was featured at SEMA, I think, like top 30, under 30 as far as builders. The stuff he makes is incredible. If I could be half as good as him one day, that would be, amazing. But he 3D prints this. Let me grab that piece of tube that I had before, and I'll try and demonstrate how this works. And of course, all right, so back to these guys. So this is actually 3/4 inch tube. Place that over the top on a flat surface, preferably clamped. This is just an example, so it's not super necessary. And then any Sharpie, or I use the Milwaukee markers. So you can place these inside of the holes, and obviously you can do one. So this would be your 0, 90, 180, 270. So you can either do one or you could do all three, but once that's on the tube, your marker's in there. So now you have a line marked on the tube. Like I said, you could do all 3 sides at one time. So that's really, really helpful for just marking the center line, whether it's, you know, a reference point for either the bender or the notcher, or even just placement of another bar in the car. These are really cool. I think I have from 3/4 all the way up to 1 3/4 in like 1/2 inch increments. So they're definitely good to have. Use those on the parachute bar and the anti-roll bar as well. Something similar to that are these little brass sleeves. So these will snap on over the tube itself, and then you can mark. These are good to start with. So you have, unlike the 3D printed ones, obviously you have your 0, help if you guys could see it, your 0, 45, and then 90. So if you place this on there, mark the tube, you can then take this and then run your mark, you know, from one end of the tube to the other. So these work pretty well together. These are made by Sync Notcher. So another good thing to have. They came with a bunch of different sizes, from 1 inch all the way up to 2 inch. So another cool thing, and definitely helps with bending and notching. Next up, clamps. Pretty basic, but in my opinion, you can never have too many of these things. Big, small. Some of these will have a longer throat, so if you're clamping something but there's a panel in front of it, rather than your clamping point being here, now it's out here. Definitely as many of these as you can get. You can never have enough. So those are good. Magnets, again, same category as clamps. You can never have too many. I really like these. I also leave them out and then grind and cut stuff, so they get absolutely covered in metal. But if you take a shop vac with the smaller attachment on there, it cleans them up pretty well, and then they will actually stick to stuff again. So if you're like me and you don't put stuff away, shop vac will clean that up pretty well. This is just a flanging tool. I used this when we did the mini tubs. There are a couple of portions on either side that have to be bent down, sanded, and then that acts as a new weld point for the new tubs. So helpful. Also have these guys in the vice grip version. I use these a lot when I did the floors on my dad's car, clamping the flanges together both on the inner outer rockers and then the firewall flange. I have a bunch of these. I think these are the Harbor Freight ones, but they work pretty well as long as you don't leave them outside. I think I lost 2 that way, but another good one. What is next? All right, I'm gonna stop this for a second, and I'm gonna grab some of the, actually, you know what? We have one more thing for clamping. These are pretty common, but I really like them. Cleco pins or clamps. I use these on the rear firewall. I also use these on the floor pans. Really good to have. And then they also have an actual, I guess those are more pins. These are actually clamps. So similar design on this, but rather than having to drill a hole, you know, if this is around the 2 pieces that you're working with, just let that up and that'll hold that together. The pins and the clamps are pretty cheap. This originally was a kit with just the 2 different sized pins. Then I bought the clamps separately. I think I got these on Amazon, I believe. Pretty inexpensive, but another good thing to have if you're trying to keep 2 things together and you don't want to drill a hole through them. Again, pretty useful. Okay, as far as marking things out, scribe is definitely a must-have on certain things. Other things, you know, a marker will do, but good scribe, very inexpensive, but nice to have. Also, similar piece, but a compass. I use this on the mini tubs when scribing the line. It had to be like 2 3/4 inches from the factory wheel well that had to be cut. So I just measured 2 3/4 with the caliper, open this up. I think I actually taped a marker to the end of it and just ran the line down. But another good thing to have, or if you have to obviously mark out you know, a radius or a circle on anything, another good piece to have. This accordion looking alien thing is just a mark out tool for holes. If you're drilling a panel like I was with the firewall in this car and you want the holes to be uniform and even, again, you know, a nice tool to use. I don't know how long this thing will actually go. Obviously, the longer you go, the further spaced out the holes are. But if you want to keep that, you know, the uniform look, this is a pretty useful tool to have. All right, and the last couple of items are kind of random, but hammer and dolly set. I think this is the Jegs one that I got, but they're all the same, whether it's the Jegs, Amazon. Professional body guys might have like a go-to kit that they prefer. For somebody like me that's just working out of his garage and really experimenting more than anything else, this is a pretty decent kit. Tungsten grinder. This is the Amazon one. So this one will only do 3/32 and 1/16, but it was like 30 bucks. I do have the bench grinder, but it is nice to have a dedicated diamond wheel for the tungstens, and when it comes to TIG welding, I need all the help I can get. So this is the one, just goes on the Dremel. There are a bunch of versions. They have one that comes with its own dedicated rotary tool. Those are super expensive. This one works pretty well. I don't really see myself, at least for now, using tungsten bigger than 3/32. That might change. I mean, we have another one at work. It was like $500 or $600. That'll do all the way up to, I think, 1/8 inch. But for the at-home hobbyist, this one works pretty well. Or you could just use the bench grinder. And then I think for now this is all that I could think of that I have. This is a flat stock and tubing bender. This will do up to 3/8 solid mild steel, I believe. I would use this more for flat stock rather than tube, but I've used this a couple times and I do like it. Rigid actually makes a similar tool, but it will mandrel bend tube. This one actually puts a kink in it, and I'll show you something that I made for the car that I'm going to end up redoing because I really wasn't happy with the way it came out using this. So to be honest, I probably wouldn't buy this again. I would spend more money and get the rigid one. The only issue with the rigid one is that each tool will only do one size. Not like you can change out the dies or anything like that. So if you're buying the one for 5/8, you're only bending 5/8, so you're only bending 1/2 inch. But in my opinion, you do get a nicer finished product. So I'll show you what I made with this on the Camaro. So originally I had my battery cut off on just a piece of flat stock with a gusset on it, welded to the trunk floor. Obviously the trunk floor is gone now and I wanted to clean it up a little bit. So this is what I came up with. I had 2 tabs that weld to the taillight housing. And then this is 3/8 chromoly that I basically just bent, welded the flat panel to the bracket for the switch. And then I have the push-pull bar that goes through there. And then I just put a piece of, sorry about the light, flat carbon where the original reverse light was. Obviously these lenses are totally shot and are gonna have to get replaced, but I'm gonna end up redoing that because I'm not totally happy with the outcome. It works, it doesn't bind up, it's pretty sturdy. I just would like a little bit of a better finished product. I probably made this like 2 years ago, so my welding has gotten a little bit better as well, so I think that's going to be another project for this, is to clean that up. So I think we're going to stop it there. Again, I'm pretty sure that's all of the tools that I could think of for now. So yeah guys, that's it. Thank you for checking this out. Like I said, if anybody actually watches this and has any suggestions for a different tool or a better tool, definitely comment. The more tools, the better, in my opinion. That's just some of the stuff that I use that I've found to be helpful, and I've also found that it kind of helps you hone your skills a little bit. So yeah, that's gonna be it. Like I said, we'll get the tank for the welder hopefully Monday, and we'll get back to working on this, and hopefully that 57 is going to get some love soon too. That thing's been sitting for too long. So that's it guys, thank you for checking it out, and I'll see you next time.